Welcome to the Adoption Curve, the show where we explore how leading organizations are transforming their approach to turn technology adoption into a strategic advantage. In each episode, we'll sit down with a learning and enablement practitioner to get their inside story on how they're helping their organizations adopt and maximize their technology investments. Let's dive into today's episode. Merav, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Likewise. We appreciate you taking some time to do this. I'm excited about this particular conversation, specifically because we're talking partner enablement, ecosystem unlock, not just the traditional driving adoption of our internal teams or maybe a sales function or maybe a customer function, but actually this ecosystem element and what the partnerships piece means. So really excited to kind of dive into that today. Yeah, I think we've got a couple of good takeaways for it. So
awesome.
Before we jump in, let's start with a bit about your background. Just set the stage for folks a little bit about kind of your lead up to where you are now.
All right. What can I tell about myself? So I come from enablement, even before it was called enablement. Do you remember that time when it was training, programs, development, like all of the above? What is enablement? I think that I don't even know what enablement is in Hebrew because it's relatively new, right? So 6, 7, 8 years maybe that enablement is there. I've always come from, taking the complex and making sure that we chunk it down to the complex and big and chunking it down to the smaller, digestible, simpler sizes. And I think that's the beauty of enablement to begin with. Coming from training, loving the channel organization and the partner ecosystem, I know we're going to dive a lot into that. About a decade ago, that's where I started, and it's complex. It's annoying, but I think the level of satisfaction when you simplify that complexity and you make it work to everybody, I think that's what made me choose this path. So what do I do here at SentinelOne? Or currently, I should say, I run the global partner enablement team. I've been with SentinelOne for the past 3.5 years. Up until a year ago, I was a team of 3, me, myself, and I. And then, all of those voices in my head actually split to actual people. And I started this team. I grew the team last year. So I have a content manager, I have technical, I have a lab developer in the work. So yeah, a lot of exciting things.
Good to hear the team's growing. Something must be going right.
Well, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So can you set the stage here for the partner enable function? Obviously, that's going to mean a lot of different things to a lot of different organizations. Can you just give some context into maybe SentinelOne and your other roles, where partnerships stood? I know there's a couple of different flavors of that, but what does that kind of mean in terms of your world?
Yeah. So I want to start by saying something that I tell my PMs whenever there's a new product introduction. When I ask if this product is partner ready, I don't mean, yes, it's ready, it's in the price list for them to sell. Partners are so much more than that. So I'm going to give 30 seconds of what SentinelOne is. SentinelOne is an endpoint security company or platform that we started with endpoint. We moved to cloud security. We moved to SIM, security, incident and events, and Purple AI. We have a lot of AI and learning machine even before it was cool and AI, right? So our product is essentially built for the businesses that want to stay safe, right? Making sure that nobody's hacking, there's no ransomware, there's no malicious intent to prevent you from doing your business. And essentially it's a SaaS, right? However, security SaaS is there's a little bit of additional layer to kind of dive into. In regards to the different partner types that we have, and I can share those slides. Do you want me to share it now?
Yeah, if you could. For those folks listening, I was kind enough to pull up a visual here. So if you are watching on YouTube in our video clips, it's a great place to be able to pull this up and take a look.
Yeah, so I'm going to put it in a slideshow mode. So we have different partner types, and I'm going to really quickly show this. We have different partner types that are essentially making the ecosystem, right? We have our traditional VARs or value-added resellers, and distribution. So the 2-tier model. We have cloud service providers, the AWSs of the world, the Google, SIs and GSIs, so global system integrators and system integrators, they are the ones that deploy that solution. We have tech alliances, like all the third parties integrations, OEMs, meaning it's part of your machine or your manufacturer, managed services or managed security service providers, and managed detection and response. Again, that's very unique to SentinelOne, but the managed services is not. And we have IR, incident response or cyber. And I'm going to quickly skip because all of those are way too much to manage. So what we ended up doing, as you can see on the left-hand side, we bundled them or we kind of consolidated them, right? What's the function of the partner? Are we expecting them to sell, to deliver, to manage, or to build? And now we kind of touched a little bit on, the sales enablement. Usually sales enablement is focused on the pre-sale side of the sales cycle or the customer life cycle, right? We have the sales, the individual that will sell position. I will dive into that in a minute. And we have the technical sale, the pre-sales or the SEs. But usually that's where the classic sales enablement will just stop. And our partners do everything that we do. So they go into the post-sales, right? Not all of them, as you can see, deliver and manage and some of the build, but maybe not the sell, right? And what you see here are the very high-level personas of the deliver, deploy, run and manage, and support. Developer are a little bit more unique, so that's why you see kind of like that question mark over there. But this one gives you a little bit more of context, right, of the content that is needed for each one of those roles, right? If we're looking at deliver or deploy, those are the ones that will go and design and implement and install and configure the console in your environment. The run and the manage, they'll do the day-to-day management. So I'll give an example. If, again, for SentinelOne, if you have a SOC, a security operations center, but you don't deploy, someone will deploy for you and will hand it off to your SOC. But if you don't have a SOC team, then someone else will manage that for you. And then you have the classic support, at least level 1 and level 2, troubleshooting, escalating, and so forth. Hopefully that's making sense.
It does. Yeah, we'll share some of these resources too, kind of anonymized, so we can have people unpack that. Obviously, this is vertically specific, unique to your business unit, but I think the things that we could sort of extract from this. So let's first talk about the personas, right? Like, obviously, there's a couple of obvious reasons why you would break it down that way, but let's talk about first why bucketing in that way makes a lot of sense. And more specifically, I also want to call it maybe just more of a compliment. You have this large pie chart of 7 different acronyms, and like I know what those are because I'm in that world. Like if you weren't, I don't know security, but I know the partner world.
Yeah.
But I mean, I could see people's eyes glazing over when they're seeing ISV and VAR, and it's a lot.
It is.
What I love is you then bucket into like manage, sell, build, deploy, like that simple language. So tell me about personas, and then tell me about that simplicity, because that seemed to be the initial theme that I'm already pulling out of this.
Yeah. So again, like I mentioned, everything in enablement from my perspective is taking the complex and simplifying it. If I can, and it's funny because I started using ChatGPT for my 6-year-old. Explain this to a 6-year-old, because I can explain it to my 14 and 16. I'll get some glossy eyes, like the oof, what are you talking about sometimes? But for the most part, I'll be able to explain it. And to my 6-year-old, he asked me, what is it that you do? And complex to explain to a 6-year-old. Okay, I need to enable this. I need to create an enablement on what is it that I do. And that somewhat led to this, right? That's a little bit more complex than when I would explain to a 6-year-old, but yes. So the idea was to simplify everything to the functionality of what our partners are doing. And it's funny that you're saying it's so simple. It is so needed. And that was an actual joint effort across all of the partner ecosystem teams, because we've actually implemented those 4 tracks into our partner program. Because every one of that chart that you saw, every one of that pie had different things that they needed, different contract, everything was different. And we're like, wait, some of those actually function similarly. So why don't consolidate all the efforts? Because I don't know in your company, but I know that in my company, I don't have endless resources. So we need to kind of hand in hand do together, repurpose. We're not stealing, repurposing, always trying to see what I've built for this that would make sense for this, right? And that's what led to this. Now, from the personas perspective, every one of those different tracks, even within the same roles, they might need some flavoring to them. So if I'm going by the 80-20 rule, right, 80% will be repurposed across all 4 of them. But that 20% will be that additional layer that is relevant to what they need to do, right? So if they need to sell, great. It's different than if you need to manage or if you need to sell manage. It's different. It's different when you're selling delivery of that product or of that service. So that's why we put it into personas. Also, I have to admit, it wasn't easy, even at SentinelOne. And believe me, it's an amazing company with amazing people and amazing need to understand and to simplify. It wasn't easy. Not everybody understood that partner enablement reaches beyond the sales side. So I needed to be like, okay, when we're going through an NPI process, right? New product introduction. I need the PMs, I need the product managers to understand that, great, it's on the price list. Awesome. That does not mean that it's partner ready, because our whole growth mechanism and growth engine is depending on our partners and our partners' go-to-market strategy and the route to market. How do they go to market? And because of that, and that's kind of like where everything kind of stemming from, because of that, I need to provide them everything. I need to provide them with what they need. I need to provide them with what makes sense to their role, to what they're trying to achieve, to their business. And to wrap it up with, I know how you run your business. I know how you run I understand it. So here, I'm creating everything. Here's the kit of everything that you need to be successful, working and partnering with us, with Sentinel.
Very well said. So starting from the beginning with the end in mind, our job is a simplifying agent by nature. That's the first step. Next, we're really looking at this from your side. If we're thinking about, we're standing up a partner program and we're thinking about driving home adoption of the partner program to then find whatever that metric is, upsells, churn reduction, whatever the measurement is that we're looking for. And we'll cover some measurement here in a couple of minutes. The personas are key because we are now driving home what is the specialty or the series of best practices for said partner in their specific lane. And then you're able to go, okay, based on all the things that they would need, you can do a little of that 80-20 analysis and go, okay, well, if I can build this working model of some of this, I can repurpose a lot, right? And kind of do that, not steal like an artist, but repurpose like an artist, so that we can, again, save ourselves a little bit on resourcing, which I think is pretty broadly applicable to any adoption project we're working on, whether it's an internal initiative to get employees and coworkers to adopt a new piece of tech or a new initiative of some kind, or it's a customer, right? The partner element is very interesting because of that. So just wanted to pause there for a moment. That's kind of the progression we're covering so far, right?
Yep, indeed.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. The flavoring, I love that word that you used in there for different partners. I would love to underscore the added complexity of, not only is this not a customer where we have like a contractual relationship in the fact that they're paying us, and they're not an internal employee, there's a lack of control. There's a third-party entity in every engagement you're going to do as a partner. And I find this to be a beautiful thing, and also just a double-edged sword where it's very challenging as well. Can you speak to the challenge of, like, you don't own the P&L or have insight all the time into the uniqueness of those partners? You're trying your best, but they are, for the most part, as best as you can do, still kind of at an arm's distance because they're third party.
I'll add even more complexity. Some, if not most of our partners actually work with our competitors as well. So, it's not only that I don't have the control like I have with internal, like I have with customers that are paying me. I need to create something that will hook them up and work a lot on activation, but also ensure that SentinelOne is top of mind. When they are talking about endpoint security, when they are talking about security, cloud security, when they're talking about SIM, it needs to be SentinelOne. It doesn't need to be other competitors I'm not going to name right now, right? It needs to be SentinelOne. And for that, I also need to make sure that everything that we're creating is succinct, is just-in-time learning. It's not hours and hours on end. And that is, again, going back to meeting our partners where they're at, what their needs, but also applying adult learning and understanding that there needs to be some gamification, but there also needs to be, some, we all call it, right? The stick and the carrot. There has to be a carrot. So there are going to be incentives. There are going to be gamification. There are going to be some, interactivity. Amazing. But there's also going to be, okay, you have to do X, Y, and Z as part of the partner program requirements. You have to gonna do a lot of other things. And that's the beauty of it all. Again, I'm going back to complexity, making it simple. But I also say one thing always about partner enablement, especially inside of the house, for the SentinelOne team. It's like that Eminem song. I got one chance. One chance. That's it. With partners, there needs to be some, again, that element, but I have a question for you. You have probably a lot of portals that you go and visit because of work and because you're, a community portal, right? How often do you go there unless you need something? Do you go there just to check that the company made something new? No. I mean, I'm guilty. I won't go unless I need something, right? So that needs something needs to be incorporated into everything that we're building. So I built the greatest training learning path in the history of the universe, in the history of enablement, okay? If our partners aren't touching it, are going through it, aren't giving us the feedback, aren't applying it, did I really do a good enough? It's kind of like the tree fell in the middle of the forest, but no one was there to hear it. Did it make the sound? Same way. So how do I address that? So many ways. I talked about the carrots and the stick, but a lot of it is engaging with the partners, asking them what they need. We have a Paladin program. Our Paladin program is Champions program, and we go chat with them often. We have a roundtable every month. Yesterday, I hosted the one of our Ammar theater, and I'm always asking questions. Always, what could I do better? Is that a good thing? And even, Simon Sinek, I'm sure, is one of my favorite authors. And I have one short video that really resonated with me a couple of years ago. It was the truth about being the stupidest person in the room. Always ask questions. I will ask my partners questions all the time I'm kind of annoying sometimes, right? But almost with every interaction, I would ask them what is working, what is not working. It's great to get the kudos. Don't get me wrong. That we need that, right? It gives us energy to keep running, even though the hardest days. Great. But I can't fix what I don't know is broken. So I'm encouraging my partners at least to bring that feedback forward, even if it's not fun to hear. But I think that is building that trust and communication and making sure that we're pushing communication out, right? I created this. This is how it's going to help you. Wrap up everything with WIFM. What's in it for you as a partner? What is in it for you, for your portfolio, for your business? All that, again, is showing our partners, that we understand how they work.
Well said. Yeah. That is really, that's the entire challenge of enablement and learning. I feel like it is wrapped up in that. So once we've set this persona, we've sort of outlined how and what we're trying to get done. We've thought through these components of the initial sets of content and learning paths and those sort of things. We're thinking through this sort of maturity curve as we think about this, or the adoption curve as we consider it. So obviously, getting tactical here, weaving in the learning and the reinforcement into that just in time when I need it, right? Because like you said, you got one shot for this. So if they've got a deal or they've got XYZ thing that they need to do, and they need a resource, they need a guide, they need an instruction of some kind, and it gets fumbled, right? That could really set us back. It's hard to overcome that. So tell us about the initial, that curve that we're going down, right? So we've given them the basics that they can kind of take a look at and consume. Talk to me about that next stage of how we're sort of teasing out contents. We don't overwhelm them, but it's also meeting them at that stage of need.
Yeah, that's a great question. And it keeps me up at night, that question. I think it's the essence of everything that we do. So here's the thing, right? My end goal at the end of the day, regardless of the personas and the different tracks and the different routes to market, my goal at the end of the day is to make everything self-sufficient as much as possible. Yes, I want to be the one driving it, but at the end of the day, I want them to go through it and go run their own campaigns, and deploy, do everything without the need to lean on me. I will be there, me as a company. SentinelOne will always be there. But if you go through it and you don't need me anymore, self-service, that would be my dream, right? That's the end goal. So with that being said, right, we know where we're starting and we're mapping the journey. And we have, again, we're thinking how and where do we meet the persona. I'll give you an example. So I also came, I didn't mention that, but from the call centers world, before we had AI, before we Googled the answers, right? We did have a system for it, but you would go into the weekly update before you go you sit down, put your headset on and everything, and you would go through, okay, let me write everything down. And if it's not in my notes, I don't even know what it is. So cheat sheets and everything that you need is something that is built in. It's built in and it's baked into our everything that we do. Now, if there's something that I hate in enablement is, okay, I came, I trained them, I talked, they've been enabled. No, enablement is a whole package. So those cheat sheets aren't coming in replacement of training or training modules or live sessions. It comes to complete the package. It comes as, I've learned it, I haven't used it, probably because I didn't have the opportunity or whatever, for 20 days. Okay, I'm giving myself really nice timeline here. 20 days, but I remember something, I just don't remember everything. Okay, I don't need to go to my notes. On our partner portal, we have partners win kits with the messaging, with the value, with the discovery questions, everything that you need if you're a seller to just pull it from the memory. We're building something that I know is not going to last. I mean, I know that everything that we create is incredible, but nobody's going to remember it if they're not using it, right? So we're building the training as well as everything else around it, win kits and assets and, slides that they're going to use, labs. That is something that I'm super proud of that we've incorporated in the past year. We have labs, pre-configured labs that partners can go for training and run demos on, so they don't have to run their own. I'm married to an XSE. I remember 5 minutes before, like this huge, my God, everything collapsed. No, we don't do that. We provide you with an environment that you can go and demo everything, and you have the instructions on the side, or you can take it out and put it in a different, like close it off completely or put it on a different screen. We're providing you tools for success for you to continue in your journey. You started here. What's the next step? You take the courses. We have continued education. We do webinars. We do product briefings. It's not just a one and done. Sometimes people won't show up, and that's okay. We'll record and we'll send reminders, right? It's all about that engagement. We'll create email templates for our channel managers and our partner account managers to send out. Hey, you might have missed this, but we had an amazing session here. Go and register or go watch the replay. Again, it's a whole package. It's not just, let's talk about it. Oh, you didn't watch it? Too bad. I need you to watch it. That's the whole point.
And do you guys think about this in terms of a progressive journey, like mapped where a partner is in that journey? Is there like a tiering system, or how do you think about that?
So we have a tiering system. It's recently changed. We used to have silver, gold, platinum. We have associate, advanced. I forgot the other one. Sorry. But we do have tiering, and that tiering is how much a business is running or is funneling through, again, the different tracks. However, we are also talking about, we're a platform, right? So there's the basic platform capabilities, and then there's expansions or specializations. So we're definitely working towards that. Also, one of the things that we are expanding, and we have a very high focus this year, is taking partners from one track and offering them the opportunity to expand to another. So let's just say that you're a reseller, but you're looking into, or you might already have a bench of delivery. Great, let us give you the tools in order for you to be successful as a delivery partner with us.
Yeah, that's really what I was drilling in on, because all partner tiers are, what have you done for me lately, right? Well, how much revenue have you brought in the door? Sure,
Exactly.
those are great. The buckets you have to put in. I get that, the business metric. But moreover, I'm thinking about the ability to drive home and almost have this sort of proactive or this pull method versus the constant push for enablement and learning content, where the partner, maybe through quality reinforcement or some empathy for their scenario, like, hey, I know this about your business, we're hearing a lot about ABC, AI, whatever, here's an additional track that we're thinking about, additional SKU, a market segment, a product, a focus, whatever, and letting that be the sort of lead in to these other things. And that's how they're expanding and pulling and wanting more content, asking for it, versus the like, we have a new feature and just shoving forward all this content. So
Or we
I'm
have a new
curious.
feature and we're hoping that you stumble across it when you are, traveling in the galaxy of our console. Yes. 100%. It's funny because I just had a call earlier today about how did I not know about this? Because I have partners that are, that want this. So definitely our partners are more and more looking to work with us. And again, it's a matter of trust and building that rapport. If there's one thing that I'm super proud of, first of all, SentinelOne is 100% partners company. We don't do direct deals at all. Like, we are 100% channel and partner. And then partners love working with us because of that, because we don't go and cannibalize into their services. We don't, mess things up. We try to be very respectful of our partners and then show them how they can grow, where they can go and do more. Do more with us, again, whether it's product, but also, as we talked about, like, not just the product, but also what are your capabilities, like your functionalities, right? We talked about the sell, the deliver, the manage, and the build. Let's just say that you are managed services, right? But you have a solution that you build a third party integration into the console. Great. Let's introduce you to our tech alliances team, and let's build something together that it's not just helpful for you, but that can be helpful for the rest of the ecosystem. Everybody using that console can leverage from it. So there's definitely, our focus is opening it and making sure that it's open source ecosystem, if that makes sense.
Yeah. The piece I'm thinking about here, because we talk a lot about this, from a mindset standpoint, how that impacts our end tactics that we're applying to our partners or our end learners or whoever we're serving. And I like this focus on, like, let's think about their business and the outcomes and the services they want to do, how they might want to expand those things, so that it doesn't become, again, like our narrative of like, this is top priority for us, so we're going to shove it everywhere we can, where this is much more of a, okay, I'm ready to kind of suggest this because of what I know about you. And so I'm sure your ecosystem is quite, robust and it's hard to personalize to that level. But anything else that comes to mind in terms of how you're trying to really work with them one-to-one where possible, but still kind of maintain the scale?
Yeah, well, that's a good point. We mentioned we don't have unlimited resources, right? So from our perspective, my team is responsible for the scale. And that's really our focus. We are, whenever bandwidth allows, right, we do build, or we do help build one-to-one. But that is mostly driven by the field org. In-house, for us, in order to maintain some kind of level of sanity and some kind of balance, yes, we do have a low, mid, and high touch, and that's based on the strategy. Are they a partner that is willing to commit to us revenue, but also deals and longevity? If they are, then we'll do a lot of one-to-ones, again, as a company. one-to-ones with everything that we're building on the scale, whether it's Partner Portal, Partner University, Ascend, the demo labs are called Ascend. All of that from our perspective, from my team and everything that we're building it to all three, whether it's low, mid, or high touch. Always. That's going to be available to all. So if I go into a one-to-one, a very strategic, important partner and they're willing to commit, we'll do a lot more on-sites. We'll do a lot more gamifications. We'll create a little bit more content that is unique to them in particular. So if I drill down to the level of what's their function and their roles, our account managers and our SEs will do a little bit more specified for that particular partners. Again, we're here to help. We're always helping whenever bandwidth will allow it, but we as a team are usually not touching that high touch. We will consult and help, but we focus on the mid to the low touch. Because let's face it, if I had to take those high paid individuals from the one-to-one, the more strategic ones, and have them focus on that, we won't get anywhere. And they'll be exhausted, that's for sure. So that's a focus of partner enablement.
Yeah, I like this because you're focusing on the quality of the programming, obviously the quality of the content, but it's just let's do more. It's a very much, we have to design this for scale because that is the forcing function. Those are the parameters we're set within. And so then it forces you to make certain decisions, yet try to think through getting it as close to feeling personalized as possible, which I think is the massive gap that exists in education of any kind, right? Whether it's partner or internal. The piece I wanted to double click on, if you wanted to share a little bit more on the labs, we do hear this a lot. We're an interactive simulation tool ourselves, not so much on the lab side, but much more for the training, kind of delivery of process and systems therein. Talk to us about the value that brings for your partners. You talked about, obviously, from a demo standpoint, if something goes wrong or something's not working, but think about this from the investment it shows your partners that you're making in them.
Yeah, I love this and getting goosebumps. I'm not kidding. So this demo environment, I want to get out. I promise I'll address that, but I want to get out of that a little bit. It's one of the many initiatives that with SentinelOne started and triggered with the partner ecosystem and trickled to more. So the value is not just for partners. And again, I'll talk to that in a second, but our community is leveraging the labs that we've built for interactive webinars with existing customers, and our product-led growth team is using that to develop a strategy for the next 5 years. And it started with our labs and partners. So it's one of my proudest moments because I fought really, really hard for this to get, and we have an amazing, my senior manager, technical manager, Dave Eckert on my team is doing a phenomenal job creating those labs for him. So here's the value to our partners. I'm going back to your question. The value to our partners is saving money, saving time, and saving expertise. Now, I'm going to focus a little bit about SentinelOne because we deal with cybersecurity. So part of the demo is detonating real malware. Are you ready to do that? I mean, let's just assume that you have virtual machines. Okay, are you ready to do that in your? No. So time, money, effort, tools, right? You don't have to have a virtual machine. If you have a lab and you have that environment, amazing, but you don't have to do that. And also if you do have it, but you don't want to get out of that in order to get, a simplified lab just to run a demo, providing you that value. It's more than just, okay, let me just put that VMware, it's everything. And I want to add more than that because we're using it as multiple. It's a training tool because it has a storyboard. It has what we call L1 deck. And what is the messaging, the technical messaging, but still the sales messaging in there. And the latest and the greatest, so you don't have to go and look for it. Is that the latest deck? Those are the latest slides? So that's one, right? We're updating it for you. But also there are instructions. The storyboard tells you what to do, shows you screenshots. Some of it will even have click here to fill in the password so you don't have to do it. Talking about simplified, I'm not a technical person. I can run demos. I can run demos, and I have with partners, and everybody looked at me like I'm this genius of cybersecurity. I'm That might be genius in another, topic, but not there. So again, we're going back to the simplification. We're going back to saving on tools. We're going back to saving time. And let's face it, all of the above is worth money.
I mean, that's exactly why they're looking to partner with you in the first place, right? Like, if they could sell your competitor, if they could sell any other product, this is something that impacts their business. This is something that is in the way of them feeding their families or doing whatever else they need to do.
Right.
So if you are investing in a system that allows this to be plug and play, but also deliver value for their end customer, right? So they can realize the value. There's this huge gap with technology where we promise a bunch of stuff in the sales cycle, and then what that looks like in delivery is like there's Everest in between those.
And then customer success or customer services is like, sales said what?
Yeah, this is the beauty of things like self-serve learning and the ability to have safe environments. It's also like from an anxiety standpoint that you don't have the customer, the partner in between, you as a support function and you owning the tech, managing all these different, like you have this sigh of relief that you have folks being able to get hands on keyboards and feel and get a validation for what they were trying to solve without, like you said, deploying malware in a system to confirm that that's actually solving the problem you said, right? So I think that's beautiful in that system. And that's really what we're seeing, because then, and you give me your thoughts on this, it allows, when you do the instructor-led training, when you do the on-site, you're now, as a partner, you're not the tour guide going, no, click that button. No, this button.
Next.
You're being a strategist, right?
Yes.
You're saying, hey, you got the basics, right? Labs there, simulated tutorials, all that stuff is there. Let's talk business. Let's talk consulting you on unlocking your next level of success, because we're not having to be a tour guide around our app or our tool.
Let me show you the value. Again, I think that is translating into them showing their prospects and their customers, I understand you. I'm not focused on building that lab and making sure that it doesn't fall apart, because I have this. I don't need to worry about this. Let me go and investigate, what is your business? What are your pain points? How is that demo that I'm about to, walk you through, how is that solving your pain point? How is that giving you that minutes at night before you go to bed that you're thinking of all the things that you're like, oh my God, that's going to crash. No, that's a pain point I can solve. How? Let me walk you through that. And I think that is the best sales strategy. If I understand you and I can focus on that and not necessarily on, okay, let me build it. I have it for you. Now, I want to add other things there, because we started with the demos and the functionality, but the more new products that we introduce, when we launch them, when we GA, when they go to general availability, we're building, a learning path that is explaining what is the world of. I'll give you an example. Our Purple AI, for example. We started with a course, a very, very short course that is explaining artificial intelligence and the development of that. From Turing all the way, through the autocorrect that would fix what I didn't mean for it to fix to these days, right? And we started with that. Just what is AI? Nothing about our product. And then we introduce our product. And then we introduce, okay, what are the personas? What's the value message? What are the discovery questions? All of that. And then we move to the demo. Okay, now let's talk about the value from the technology perspective. And also, okay, now you also have a lab. Great. We finished with a sale. Walk you through it. Amazing. Now let's talk about the post-sale. Okay, how do we implement that? So one of the things that we're starting to develop now is implementation of it through those labs. Here's an environment and here's a step-by-step guide, and that is the best practice. Now, is that replacing the knowledge base articles? Is that replacing, the actual technical training that we have on the university? It does not. But like you said, you're going through it. When you go through the KBs or through the training, you're hitting the ground running because you get it. You get it. And it's, it's that pyramid of show me, talk to me, show me, let me do it. That's where we're going to, okay, now we're going to learn, right? That is the one thing that will push it from, the short-term memory to the mid and to the long. That process, let me play with it. But don't let me spend hours to just set up that environment.
Absolutely. It's learning progression 101, right? This is what
100%.
pedagogical learning is all about is
Yeah.
multimodalities, being able to tease that information out. I think it's so well aligned with adult learning to your earlier point in earlier this conversation.
Yep.
So Merav, as we wrap up here, can you just spend a minute on the community element, putting a bow around this? You know, we've identified personas, we've looped folks into our programming, we've teased information out in the beginning, we're feeding them in the time of need. We've tried to iterate, we've tried to be communicative, we tried to figure out where we can be self-serve, where we need to be in person, where we can blend those things, how we can try to help. And what is the feedback mechanism from the communal aspect? You touched on it earlier, but I just would like to close on that piece on how you elicit maybe peer-to-peer sharing or what that looks like for,
Yeah.
for your perspective.
So I'm going to add to that also an element of social bragging a little bit, right? Because we do have that. So we have credly badges for achievements that you've done. Or if you're part of the elite community, I mentioned our paladins, right? So you're getting credly badges for that. And first of all, that social interaction and the bragging of, yeah, I earned it, starts its own conversation. Not necessarily one that I can control, and that's okay. Like I'm giving it, and I love that too. So that's kind of an element there, but the community itself on top of that and the feedback mechanism is super important. So whenever is possible, we join our partner ecosystem team and meet with our partners on their regular checkpoints and whatnot. I used to call them blitz days, or not really blitz days, but they're in office and engagement events, if you will. We have partner one events that we do locally, and that is a collaboration between the SE org, partner marketing, and partner enablement. That is essentially a training and enablement event. But also after we do some training and panels, we split into two main roles, sales and technical. And in the sales, we do, interactions and panels, and I want to call it account mapping, but it's not agnostic necessarily because we have a few partners there, but we talk about our best practices in those. And again, we ask for that feedback on community meetings, right? We have our paladins that I talked about. That's our champions program. We have roundtables every month. We use them also beta testing for anything. So I can tell you when I launched the Partner University, I launched it twice here at SentinelOne, but when I first launched it, I launched it first with the Paladins, and I've asked them, go break my system. Go break it. And everybody was like, oh, no, I want you to break them, because when you find everything that can be broken, I'm going to fix it. And later, to the entire ecosystem, that's going to be as perfect as possible. There is also embedded in our LMS an NPS and feedback mechanism. So whenever you complete a course or a training, you can rate it, you can give it an NPS score, and you can give us the feedback of, is it relevant? Is it not? We also have a feedback form if you need any help or whatever. And we always ask, is there anything we can do better? It's embedded in there. So we're huge advocates. Any of whatever I said did not stick, let this be the one. Ask the questions and build a mechanism to get those answers.
Love that. What a great place to end. That's amazing. Merav, you've given us a ton to kind of operationalize here. So thank you for coming on and sharing your wisdom. I think this is a great place to wrap here. We'll link to all of this and break these out into some guides and some takeaways, including Merav's slide to be able to and give you some visuals for this. Where can folks find more about you if they want to check out some more of your speaking and other content you've done?
Well, just find me on LinkedIn. Merav.Ammar, I think that was. I need to look at my handler, but find me on LinkedIn if you can link my profile and reach out, because I love talking about those things and I love hearing other people how they've done it. I could have not gotten to where I'm at without that feedback, without that community, without people reaching out, asking. Even the slides that I shared actually triggered from people coming to me, asking me questions about the org and the role and what is needed. And I found myself in a need to explain it again and again and again until it was like, let's do this. Let's make this. And I can tell you that I've shared those slides, and from the first time that I've shared them to now, they've progressed with a lot of feedback.
Yeah, just like the system you subscribed here, right? That's pretty much what we talked about it. Constantly iterating. So
Yes.
amazing. We'll
Constantly
link to all of
evolving.
that. Yes, exactly, including the LinkedIn profile as well. So Merav, thanks again. Really appreciate you taking out the time.
Thank you, and thanks for having me. I've had a blast.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Adoption Curve. If you've enjoyed today's conversation and want more content like this, I highly recommend subscribing to our newsletter where we break down insights, frameworks, and templates from our guests on each show. To access, go to iorad.com/newsletter. Also, make sure you subscribe to our show wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. If you could, we'd also love it if you could leave us a 5-star review if you enjoyed and got value out of today's conversation. The Adoption Curve is produced by iORAD, the tool that helps thousands of companies make interactive tutorials in seconds. They're shareable in all the tools you use every day. We'll see you on the next episode.